Barbershop conversation, guys. Feel free to hit the subscribe button. Let's talk about Korryn Gaines, the young lady that was killed by police when they went in her home, and they claimed she had a shotgun or something like that, and they had a police warrant, and the man left, and they shot the 4 or 5 year old child in the chest, and she was killed in the I guess in the gun battle. I don't know the full details, but they claim she had a gun, but I haven't heard the follow up on it. And my question is she crazy or a great black activist? And what brought me to this point is because I I can see the comments like going down on YouTube and everywhere else. Oh, she's crazy. She shouldn't have did this, because the video is running rampant of her being pulled over by the police and her not wanting to get out of the car. But let's talk about how you have to stand for something. And I believe she stood for something. And I also believe that maybe she lacked the versatility to get her vision and her point across. But what you have to do is admire her conviction. Either way, I mean, if you're voting for a president in the election in 2016, you have to respect someone like Korryn Gaines, because our presidential candidates this election term is pretty terrible. You know, I would bear to wager below average. Average would be a compliment, I believe. I think Hillary Clinton is well beyond her prime. I think she tastes like as a president when you try and retoast your toast. And I think Donald Trump is mildew bread. You know what I mean? And you try and toast that, and that still doesn't work. Or that cheap bread that you buy for 69 cents at the market, and you try and make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and it tears apart when you put the peanut butter on it. That's Donald Trump. But getting back to Korryn Gaines, I've watched the videos more than once now, but more importantly, I've allowed it to digest in my system for a couple of days. And at the end, and my personal opinion is, I respect her. You know, her tact may have been a little bit off, because it wasn't the person, it's the system she's attacking. Now, sometimes it's hard to distinguish the two, because when you've been fighting your entire life, you associate the enemy as a color, when in actuality it's a mindset. Because in Mexico, the drug cartel runs Mexico, and it's a homogeneous nation, meaning there's one civilization there, whereas in America it's a melting pot of the world. So sometimes we fall into the mistake as seeing all white people as the enemy, but when in actuality it's the system that she should have been fighting, and she should have had the ability to, in my eyes. Feel free to disagree with me. I love to keep this conversation going, because it only can facilitate change. She failed to distinguish that this guy, in my eyes, when the police officer pulled her over, I don't know what he pulled her over for, but in their exchange, I believe he was only doing his job. So, and I do believe that there's systemic racism, but I believe in that moment when he pulled her over, it's a 16-minute video, I believe. Feel free to watch it. He wasn't the enemy. The system was the enemy. And Fred Hampton, I'm not sure if you guys know who Fred Hampton is. He was a young Black Panther party leader, I think, in the Midwest in Chicago. He ended up getting assassinated. But he has a speech. I should put it in the description box. It's entitled the importance of education prior to action. Fred Hampton, the importance, Fred Hampton on the importance of education prior to action. And I think that she may have lacked the education. Because at the end of the day, when you get pulled over by the police, you want to go home. You want to go home to your kids. I appreciate her candor and her honesty and not allowing her child to be treated as a second-class citizen. But on the flip side, he wasn't in that state. He was not the enemy. The system was the enemy. Now, in the system, it's hard to decipher because if there's 20 snakes in a barrel, not all of them want to bite you. But because there's 20 snakes in the barrel, you have to protect yourself from 20 snakes in the barrel. And I think that she was using a broad brush, which is fair. I do it, and I'm sure you do it as well. We make gross assumptions, and sometimes it works to our benefit, sometimes it doesn't. And this time it didn't work to her benefit. So, but I think with the proper education, women like her can change the world. And that's the point I want to make in this video. She had the conviction to change her community with the prior education, with the proper education and the proper tag. And I don't mean formal education. I mean learning how to facilitate her message. You know, that's one of the reasons why I admire the Black Lives Matter movement, is because they're convicted. They're ready to fight. They're ready to stand for what they believe in. Do I believe in everything that they believe in? No, not entirely. But I love their conviction. And Korryn Gaines, I love her conviction. I love her. She was in love with herself. The hardest thing, I should say, one of the hardest things, top 5 things to do in America, I've never lived anywhere else, is to be truly in love with yourself. That's one of the hardest things to do in a capitalist society. It's hard to be in love with yourself. And I believe she was in love with herself. I wish she was still here. And I wish she would have got more recognition as she was alive. You know, I don't know if she had a YouTube channel or anything like that, but I would have loved to subscribe to her YouTube channel and listen to her. You know, because I think her voice was important. I think she could have empowered Black women and inspired Black men to protect their Black women, and inspired men to protect their women, and women to protect their men, because we have to stand for something. You know, whereas we have celebrities who stay quiet for 30 years like Michael Jordan, or people like Kevin Hart, who's afraid to choose sides because he gets his checks assigned by white men. So there's a fine line you have to do to facilitate your message. It doesn't make your message any less. It just broadens the perspective, and it broadens your ability to get your message heard for the masses. You understand what I'm saying? So it's sad she had to go, because I would have loved to see her in her 30s and see how far she could have gone, because she had a voice. And I think as she gotten older, she would have gotten wiser, and she would have been able to learn how to navigate herself in this society. So, I mean, I truly appreciate her. At the end of the day, I appreciate her. It's sad that her son has to grow up without her mother. I don't know where the father is. I don't know the backstory. But in this present, how I feel, I respect her conviction. I just wish she would have listened to Fred Hampton. You know, I'm going to post this video of Fred Hampton on the importance of education prior to action. I encourage all you guys to listen to Fred. I think Fred Hampton would have been one of the greatest leaders, because he spoke like Martin Luther King and acted like Malcolm X. Oh man, great speaker. So and I think Korryn Gaines could have been in that lineage, but it's sad she had to go so soon. So barbershop conversation, guys. Feel free to hit the subscribe button, and I will bring you guys more content. Boxing tomorrow, Andre Ward and Brand fights tomorrow. I'm excited to see how Andre Ward looks because Kovalev looked just good. So we'll see tomorrow. Barbershop Conversation, guys. Thank you for subscribing. Tell your brothers, sisters, and everyone to subscribe because we're growing. We're growing, and I'm excited. Thank you, guys. Talk to you guys soon. Peace.